purity analysis is quite simple in ChromNAV. So to get started, we'll first open a chromatogram, and we'll use the pH section and standard number 1. With the PDA data, what we see, again as always, our chromatograms above, our contour plot, and to the right are spectra. Now we have our different views below, and we'll go to our peak purity window. Now in our peak purity window, we have above our chromatogram at whichever particular wavelength you're looking at. So we'll first need to build our peak purity method. To do so, click on Edit Peak Purity Method, and you'll see in the pop-up we can edit the purity method conditions. The first of which, we can set the auto zero time, or in this case we can just say peak start when the peak starts to elute. We can change the purity calculation, whether it's the whole spectra or front and tail, based on a few different parameters. For this example, we'll go with whole spectra. For the display colors, we see our range here we can set, but if the purity is above 0.99, we'll see green. If it's in between 0.99 and 0.9, we'll see yellow, and if it's below 0.9, we'll see red. And the very last is the wavelength range, which we can set, for example, from 220 to 400, or in the range you'd like. So let's save this. And now we can close it. And now we simply will need to integrate our peaks first. So to do that, we simply can apply a peak process. And as we're looking at channel 9, we'll open channel 9, which is pH is 210 nanometers, as seen here. And we'll click Execute. And now, of course, we have our integration. To apply our peak purity, simply click the peak purity button, select your method, and execute. And now what you'll see is for each peak that we click on below in the peak table, we see the peak purity, how much of it is high purity, medium purity, and low purity. And you get a little visual to the right with your colors. You can see most of the peak, of course, is very pure, and toward the tail or the front, you see a little bit of yellow. If we scroll through, we'll see this for each of the peaks in the chromatogram above, and it highlights the section that it's showing you. To the left, we get our spectra as well. We can also do this for different wavelengths if we like, just to see what peaks do show up at those different ones, whether we need peak purity or not for those wavelengths. And as always with any type of analysis, with the data comes the methods you've used to analyze it. Our peak ID, our integration, and of course the particular peak purity method we've used and the conditions for that.